Welcome to Fordham University's Introduction to the Irish Tin Whistle. My name is Ryan Duns, a Jesuit studying here at Fordham University, and I also teach the Introduction to the Irish Tin Whistle course. In this third video of our series, the intermediate series that is, I'd like to begin with a paraphrase of a prayer written by St. Ignatius of Loyola. St. Ignatius was the founder of the Society of Jesus and the man who wrote for us the spiritual exercises, which is one of the great gifts that the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, brings to the church and to all people of God. Just quickly, the goal of our life is to live with God forever. God who loves us gave us life. Our own response of love allows God's life to flow into us without limit. All the things in this world are gifts of God, presented to us so that we can know God more easily and make a return of love more readily. As a result, we appreciate and use all these gifts of God insofar as they help us develop as loving persons. But if any of these gifts become the center of our lives, they displace God and so hinder our growth toward our goal. As I've said in the first two videos, the goal of this intermediate series is not to teach you a ton of tunes, but to start in helping you to develop your own musical style, to, as has become kind of the phrase, to claim your voice in the Irish tradition. But this movement of claiming a voice in the musical tradition parallels that of the spiritual tradition. And one of the temptations of both the spiritual life and the musical life is allowing one feature of music or one feature of spirituality to become the center. So in the case of music, it often happens that someone becomes really proficient at one type of tune, often reels, and they play them at blazingly high speeds, and they neglect the slow airs and the hornpipes and polkas and jigs of the tradition. Or in spirituality, people become so accustomed to one style of prayer, or one style of thinking about prayer or the spirit or life in the church, that they forget about everything else and they lose the sight of the big picture of the riches of the tradition. I really want to work to avoid doing that, and to help you, I'd like to go back to a tune we also learned in the first series of videos called the Silver Spear. Now some of you are going to roll your eyes and say, oh, what can you possibly teach us about this? If you're doing that, you've got a big problem, because you think you know everything. And that's wrong, because there's always something more to learn, even with a basic tune. So what I want to do is, as has been the custom in the last two pieces of music, to take a common tune and spice it up a little bit. Remember the basic version of the tune. If that's the best you can hope for, that's great, because it's your tune. But if you want to advance it a little bit further, if you want to start to play with the very nature of the tune itself, we can help you in ways to do that. For instance, the standard way of playing the first measure, that's fine, that's the way it's written. But we can tweak it just a little bit. Instead of that progression, why not one more time? F-A roll. So D-E-F-A, D-E-F-A. Now you'll note I slid up on that F in the last series. Slide and roll. You can do that on a lot of these tunes, reels especially. Remember, you don't have to play it fast to make it sound good. You need to play it well. And playing it well means playing it from your heart, playing it with all the person that you are. First part 2 times around. as my sister's fiance, Brian Holleran, loves to say, you don't need to put a bunch of garbage into the tune in order to make it speak well. Brian is a fabulous flute and tin whistle player and pipe player too. And what's great about him is he really doesn't use tons of ornamentation. He's got this brilliant internal rhythm that governs the playing. So in that last series, there's no notes, no ornaments. It's just the notes themselves opened up. So instead of a G roll, G, A, G, which is just as lovely as a roll. It's, I think, sometimes more interesting on the ear, and it's just another way of expressing yourself. Let's look at the second part. A standard way of playing it. Again, as I said before, if that's the best you can do, that's really fine. That's your music. But if you want to advance it a little bit, you want to play with the structures, why not something like... It's a simple movement. It's kind of quick, you know, putting in a triplets. It's just a triplet run. Dum dee diddly diddly dee da da la dee da diddle da dum diddly diddly dum. You're just playing with the notes. There's nothing really of a substantial change. It's just little things that are being tweaked. But it does change the dynamic of the tune enough. It doesn't take away from it, but it adds something to it. It adds your contribution. And you should feel encouraged to do that once you have the basic structure of the tune, to start to play with note combinations, different ways of ornamenting the tune. Because every time you do that and you add something new and unique, so long as it's not deranged, you're making a very positive contribution to the tradition, a tradition that craves to be shared and calls to be shared because it's the nature of tradition to be handed on to others. I'm going to play the tune one more time through and then we'll wrap this up. 2 times through each part. A little bit faster, maybe, than some of you are ready for. Keep working. And just note some of the things I do. Mine is not the normative version for the tune. It's just my way of playing it in a way that I hope not necessarily inspires but encourages people to play it too. My best wishes to you as you continue working on this tune, taking old things and making them new again, because that's going to be your contribution to the Irish tradition.